shivering in the cold. The wind howled through the broken buildings of the old city. Snow fell slowly from the dark sky. Everything was quiet. There were no cars, no people, no lights. The city was dead. A man walked alone down a cold street. His name was Caleb. He wore a long coat, gloves, and a scarf. His face was tired. His eyes were cold, like he had seen too much pain. He looked around as he walked. The buildings were covered in ice. Windows were broken. Doors were open and empty. This was Earth now, frozen, empty, quiet. Caleb lived alone in an old hotel. It was half broken, but it had a small fireplace and food stored in cans. He stayed inside most of the time. He didn't like people. Not anymore. He had lost too many, but tonight was different. As Caleb passed a narrow alley, he saw something. He stopped. He looked again. There was a girl lying on the ground. She was small and thin. Her clothes were torn. Her hair was long and messy. She had no shoes. Her hands were blue from the cold. She was shivering badly. Caleb stood still. He didn't move. He looked at her for a long time. She'd die, he thought. He didn't want to help. He didn't want to get involved. But something inside him, something human, told him to move. He stepped forward slowly. He knelt beside her. Her eyes opened just a little. They were bright, silver gray, and strange. Not normal, but full of fear. "Hey," Caleb said softly. "Can you hear me?" She didn't answer. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. He picked her up. She was light. Too light. He carried her back to his place, holding her close to his chest, to give her warmth. Inside his room, the fire was burning. Caleb laid the girl on a mattress near it. He wrapped her in a blanket. Her skin was ice cold. He opened a can of soup and placed it near the fire to warm. Then he looked at her again. Her breathing was weak, but steady. After a few minutes she opened her eyes again. "You're safe," Caleb said. "Just rest. You were freezing out there." The girl looked around slowly. Her eyes focused on the fire. Then, very quietly, she said, "Warm." Caleb was surprised. Her voice was soft, almost robotic, but it had emotion in it. "What's your name?" he asked. She blinked, then whispered, "Isla, Isla." "All right, I'm Caleb." He gave her the soup. She held the cup, but didn't drink it. "Ayla," he said. "Where are your shoes, your jacket? What were you doing out there?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stared at the fire like she had never seen one before. Caleb watched her closely. Something felt off. Her skin, though cold before, now felt too normal. The room was cold, but she wasn't shivering anymore. And her eyes, they didn't look human. That night, Caleb couldn't sleep. He sat near the fire, staring at the girl who now slept quietly on the mattress. She's just a girl, he thought, but something's not right. He looked at the drawings on his wall. Maps, radio frequencies, old newspapers. The world was broken, and he had learned not to trust it. Suddenly, Isla moved. She sat up slowly, her eyes still closed. Caleb watched carefully. She whispered something, words he didn't understand. Then, clearly she said, "They're coming." Caleb stood up. "What? Who's coming?" Isla didn't answer. She laid back down and fell silent again. But Caleb felt a chill go through his spine, and it wasn't. From the cold, the fire crackled. The wind outside howled louder. Something in the air had changed. Caleb walked to the window. He looked outside into the snow-covered street. Darkness. Silence. Silence. But he couldn't shake the feeling. Something, or someone, was watching them. And the girl sleeping in his room. She might not be what she seems. Morning came slowly. The sky was gray. Snowflakes still fell, soft and silent. Inside the broken hotel, the fire was almost dead. Caleb sat on a wooden chair, staring at Isla. She was still asleep, or pretending to be. Her breathing was slow and calm. He hadn't slept. He kept thinking about her words last night. "They're coming." Who were they? Why would they come? And who was this girl, really? He stood up and added more wood to the fire. The flames came back to life. Isla opened her eyes. "You're awake," Caleb said. "Good, you need food." She didn't answer. She looked at the fire again. Caleb handed her a piece of bread. She held it, stared at it, and then placed it gently on the blanket. "You're not hungry?" he asked. She shook her head. He sat down across from her. "You said something last night," he began. "Do you remember?" Ayla looked at him. Her eyes were strange. Too clear, too silver. "I don't remember," she said softly. Caleb leaned forward. "You said, they're coming." "Who's coming, Isla?" Her face went still. She looked down. I don't know, she whispered. I just feel it. Later that day, Caleb gave her warm clothes and boots. They were too big, but better than nothing. They walked to a nearby building, an old library. Caleb used it as storage. The streets were empty, only snow moved. Inside the library, Alice stood by a dusty window, while Caleb packed a bag. She found a notebook, and began drawing something with a pencil. He looked over her shoulder. She had drawn a circle, with lines and numbers around it, like a clock, but with strange symbols. What is this? He asked. She paused. I don't know. It just came into my mind. He stared at the page. The design looked too perfect for a child. Too technical. Have you drawn this before? Alice blinked. Not with my hands. That night, the wind was stronger. The fire crackled louder. Caleb turned on his old radio. Static filled the room. He changed frequencies slowly. Just noise. Then, suddenly, a voice. Unit for 2 Central. Signal detected. Area 23 shows bio reading. Stand by for scan. The voice was robotic. Cold dot, then silence. Caleb's face turned pale. Area 23 was here, this part of the city. He turned off the radio fast. Ayla looked at him. What's wrong? You tell me, he said. Are they looking for you? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into a coat pocket and pulled out a small object. It looked like a tiny silver cube, smooth, no buttons, no lights. She held it in her hand. It began to glow softly. What is that? Caleb asked. It's part of me, she said. Then, the cube rose into the air and spun slowly. A faint blue light came out of it and hit the wall. A hologram appeared, a map of the city, with one blinking red dot. Is that us? Caleb asked. Yes, she said. He stepped back. You're tracking yourself. She shook her head. No, they are. Caleb stood at the window. His breath made a fog on the glass. I should have left you there, he said quietly. I didn't ask for this. Ayla sat by the fire, silent. The silver cube dimmed and returned to her hand. I didn't ask to be made, she whispered. Caleb turned around. Made. Ayla looked up. I'm not fully human. His heart sank. He had guessed it now. It was real. I was created, she continued. In a lab, on a ship, by beings who don't feel. They call themselves the Zepha. Aliens. Caleb asked. She nodded. They created me to study humans. To learn about emotion, connection, warmth. Caleb laughed once, bitterly. They sent you to Earth for that. There's nothing left here. I escaped, Ayla said. I didn't want to be a tool. I wanted to feel for myself. Caleb looked at her, trying to read her face. Was she dangerous? Or just lost? Ayla curled up near the fire again. They don't like what I've learned, she said. That's why they're coming. And what have you learned? Caleb asked. She looked at him, eyes glowing softly in the firelight. Warmth, it's more than heat, she said. It's being held, being safe, being seen. Caleb was quiet. He had once believed in things like that. Long ago he walked to the fire and dropped another log in. Well, he said, you're not safe yet. Ayla nodded slowly. No, but I'm close. Outside, far in the distance, a single red light appeared in the sky, hovering. Watching something had found them. The red light in the sky hovered for hours. It made no sound. It did not move. But Caleb knew what it meant. Something had found them. Inside the hotel, the air was tense. Ayla sat on the floor near the fire. Caleb checked his gear, an old rifle, 2 knives, a flashlight, and a broken drone scanner. He watched the light through the window. It was still there. I think they've locked onto you, Caleb said. Ayla didn't respond. She held the silver cube tightly in her hand. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed fear. Can that thing fight? Caleb asked. No, she said. It only stores data. It helps me remember. Remember what? Ayla looked up slowly. Who I want to be. Suddenly, the cube began to beep. A soft, fast rhythm. Caleb stepped back. What now? Ayla stood and placed the cube on the ground. It unfolded like a flower, for thin metal petals rising from its sides. A blue projection appeared above it. A moving image, a machine, like a spider made of metal, crawling through the snow. It had no eyes. Only senses. It was only 10 kilometers away. They sent a scout, Ayla said. How fast is it? Fast enough, Caleb cursed under his breath. He grabbed his pack. We're moving now. They left the hotel through a back door, Snow crunched under their boots. The cold was sharp, cutting through their clothes. But they didn't stop. Caleb led Isla down a side street. The buildings here were closer together, creating shadows. It was harder to see from the sky. Where are we going? She asked. There's an old bunker, he said. A military one. I used to hide there during raids. They moved quickly, avoiding open spaces. Caleb checked the sky often. The red light had disappeared, or moved. That made it worse. He kept the rifle ready. After 30 minutes, they reached a large building, part of an old subway system. The stairs led deep underground. Caleb turned on a flashlight and guided Isla through dark halls. Past broken machines and wires hanging from the ceiling. They reached a metal door with numbers. Painted in red, B-17. Caleb opened it with a code and stepped inside. The bunker was cold, but dry. There was still power from old solar batteries. A few lights turned on. Welcome to my old cave, he said, with a small smile. Isla sat near a vent. It's quiet here. For now, Caleb said. Later, Isla connected the cube to a wall panel. Data spread across the wall, glowing symbols and shapes. Caleb sat beside her. Can you explain what they want? He asked. Ayla stared at the lights. They don't hate humans, she said. They study them, take what they need, then erase. Erase? Caleb asked. She nodded. The Zepha believe emotion is a disease. They want to remove it. Caleb laughed bitterly. They came to the right place. Earth has plenty of that. They made me to hold emotion, to feel love, pain, fear. Then they wanted to delete it. But you ran. Yes, she whispered. Because I didn't want to be empty. The screen flickered. A new signal appeared. A strong one. A wave of sound and light. Ayla's body stiffened. Caleb stood. What is it? It's not them, she said. Then who? A human frequency, military class. Caleb stared. That's impossible. The military fell years ago. The signal repeated. Then a voice came through, old and crackling. To any survivors in Sector 23, avoid contact with unknown drones. They scan for hybrid signals. If you hear this, run. Caleb turned to Isla. They're talking about you. She looked confused. How do they know? Caleb grabbed the radio and pressed a button. This is Caleb, Sector 23. I have one of the hybrids. She's not hostile. Silence. Then the voice replied. Then she's already watching you. Isla stood quickly. Turn it off. Caleb did. What's wrong? He asked. They've hijacked the signal, Isla said. That wasn't human anymore. That voice was mimicked. Caleb stared at the radio like it might explode. They're playing with us, he muttered. Just like a trap. Ayla sat down, holding her head. They're trying to pull my mind back. I can feel it. Then block them out. Caleb, said Dot. She looked up. I need your help. What can I do? Isla reached for his hand. Stay close. Human emotion weakens their control. Fear, care, hope. They don't understand it. Caleb hesitated, then took her hand. A pulse of light passed through the bunker, and for a moment, everything was quiet. But far above them, in the snowy sky, the red light blinked once, and then vanished. The bunker was silent. The only sound was the soft hum of old power lines and Caleb's heartbeat in his ears. Isla sat on the floor, eyes closed, breathing steady. The cube in her lap pulsed gently with a blue light. Caleb stood near the door, rifle ready. He had blocked the radio signal and shut down the power grid. No sound, no light, no heat. They were hiding now, but he knew it wouldn't last. They can smell signals, Isla whispered. Even broken ones. How close are they? Caleb asked. They're already here. A low metallic sound echoed through the bunker, like a machine dragging metal claws across stone. Caleb froze. The rifle felt heavier in his hands. Then a voice, deep and cold, spoke from the hallway. Human unit detected. Biological contact confirmed. Entry authorized. The bunker door creaked. Something large was on the other side. Caleb motioned to Isla. She crawled behind a support pillar, hiding in the shadows. The door slowly opened with a hiss. A figure stepped in. It was tall, almost 7 feet, with smooth white armor and a long, thin head. No eyes, just a single glowing ring on its face. Spinning slowly, it looked almost human, but moved like a machine. It scanned the room. Hybrid presence. Verified, it said. Then it turned toward the pillar, where Ayla was hiding. Caleb fired. 1 shot, then 2. The bullets hit its chest, but did nothing. The machine didn't flinch. It turned to Caleb and raised one arm. A red beam of light shot out and struck the wall beside him, burning the concrete. Caleb rolled behind cover, heart racing. Ayla stood slowly. "Don't," Caleb shouted. "Stay down." But she walked into the open, hands raised. "I am not returning," she said. "You can't make me." The machine paused. Its voice changed, softer, more like a whisper. Ayla, -17. Emotions detected. Fear, attachment, rebellion. "These are errors." "They're not errors," she said. "They're real." The machine stepped closer. "Mission: retrieve and reset. Human interference will be neutralized." Caleb stood, rifle ready again. "You'll have to go through me." The machine paused, processing. Then Ayla spoke again. "No, you'll go through us." She reached out and touched Caleb's arm. The cube in her hand glowed bright blue. Suddenly, the machine froze. The spinning light on its face stopped. Its body stiffened. Unknown signal error processing. Ayla's voice echoed in the room. But now, it carried power. "You created me to feel. You made me to understand humans. And now, I understand enough to say no." The machine twitched, then screamed a high-pitched, digital screech. Its metal body began to crack. Sparks flew from its joints. Then it collapsed. Ayla fell to her knees. Caleb rushed to her. "What did you do?" "I showed it something it couldn't handle," she said. "Real emotion. Connection." She looked up at him. "I used your memory. The one you tried to hide." Caleb's face went cold. He looked away. "Don't go digging in my head." "I didn't mean to," Ayla said. "It came to me when you took my hand. You were holding a child, and she was crying." Caleb said, "Nothing. She was yours," Ayla whispered. He nodded once. "A long time ago." "I'm sorry." Caleb took a deep breath, then helped her to her feet. "Next time," he said, "warn me before you fry my brain with memories." They dragged the broken machine into a side tunnel and covered it with a tarp. But Ayla looked worried. "That was a scout," she said. "More will come. And next time, they won't talk." Caleb looked at the map on the cube. "There's a way out of the city," he said. "Old train tunnels lead past the ridge. But we'll need to move fast." Ayla nodded. "We'll need supplies." They packed light. Caleb found a working battery, 2 flares, and a box of protein bars. Ayla carried the cube close to her chest, like it was a heartbeat. Before leaving, Caleb looked back at the bunker one last time. He had survived here for years. Alone. Safe. Now, it felt like a trap. Ayla touched his arm. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not running away." He gave a tired smile. "Don't thank me yet." They stepped into the cold tunnel. Darkness swallowed them. Outside, on a distant hill, 3 more machines stood. One knelt beside the broken scout. Its voice was darker, full of static. "Ayla 17 has exceeded her design. She has bonded," another replied. "Then we erase her, and the one who taught her to feel." Their eyes turned red. And they began to move. The tunnel was cold and silent. Caleb and Ayla walked through the darkness, their steps echoing against the stone walls. Only a small flashlight guided the way, cutting a narrow path through the shadows. They had been walking for hours. "Are we close?" Ayla asked, her voice low. "Maybe," Caleb replied. "If the tunnel map's still accurate, it leads out of the city. Past the mountains. There's a forest there, or what's left of it." Ayla nodded. She seemed tired. Her shoulders were heavy, her silver eyes dimmer than before. Caleb noticed. "You all right?" "I'm not used to this much feeling," she said. "It's like carrying too many things inside. It hurts sometimes." "That's called being human," Caleb muttered. "Pain comes free with the package." They reached an old service door. Rusted, stuck. Caleb forced it open with a crowbar. The metal screeched, cold wind rushed in. On the other side was a long steel bridge. It stretched across a broken valley, the remains of an old underground river system. On the far side, a path led upward toward the surface. They stepped onto the bridge. Halfway across, Ayla stopped. "What is it?" Caleb asked. She turned slowly. "They're here." At the mouth of the tunnel, 3 figures appeared. Tall, metallic, glowing red. The hunters had found them. Without a word, the machines opened fire. Blue energy bolts tore through the darkness, hitting the walls and floor. Caleb pulled Ayla behind a support beam. "We can't outrun them," he said. "This bridge is a trap." Ayla touched the cube in her pocket. It pulsed with light. "I have to use it." "Use it how?" Caleb asked. "Not as a tool," she said. "As me." She stepped forward, out into the open dot. The machines paused, watching her. I am Ayla 17, she said. I was made by your hands, but I am no longer yours. One of the machines responded. Emotion is infection. You carry it now. You must be erased. No, she said. I carry hope, and that makes me real. The cube lifted from her palm. It spun quickly, glowing brighter and brighter. A field of energy exploded outward. A wave of memory, of sound, of feeling. The machine screamed. Caleb shielded his eyes. In Isla's vision, she saw flashes of everything she had felt since meeting Caleb. The warmth of the fire, the fear of being hunted, the joy of safety, the sadness in his eyes, the strength in his silence. The machines shook violently, trying to block the wave. One fell off the bridge. Another dropped to its knees. But the third, the largest, charged forward. Caleb ran to Ayla and tackled her out of the way just as the machine fired a red beam. Across the bridge, the blast hit a support beam. The bridge cracked. Steel groaned. Chunks of metal began to fall. We have to move, Caleb shouted. He pulled Ayla to her feet and ran toward the far end. Behind them, the large machine followed. Fire burned in its chest. Its steps were heavy. Relentless. Ayla turned. No more running, she whispered. She raised her hand. The cube flew to her, attaching to her chest. A soft white light covered her body. She walked toward the machine. It aimed at her. She kept walking. Then silence. The light grew. It turned gold, then white-hot. The machine stopped. Error, it said. Cannot process signal. Cannot. And then it exploded into sparks. The bridge shook again. Caleb grabbed Ayla as the last part of the walkway collapsed. They fell hard, not into water, but onto snow. They had reached the outside. The sky above was dark, but no longer storming. A few stars peeked through the clouds. Caleb sat up, breathing hard. Ayla lay beside him, eyes closed. Ayla, he said. She opened her eyes slowly. I'm still here. You scared me. You saved me. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the sky. Then Ayla said, do you think I'm human enough? Caleb looked at her. You feel pain. You protect others. You're willing to die for someone else. He smiled. You're more human than most I've known. They walked toward the tree line together. But far above them, hidden in the clouds, a shape moved. Massive. Silent. Watching. The Zepha knew where she was now, and they weren't finished. Not yet. The forest was quiet. Snow hung like dust on the frozen trees. Every branch seemed frozen in time, as if the world had stopped breathing. Ayla and Caleb moved slowly, careful not to leave clear tracks. The cold bit at their skin, but they didn't stop. They had escaped the city, for now, but far behind them, the sky still burned red. They knew it wasn't over. They found shelter inside the hollow of an old tree. Caleb lit a small fire using dry bark and an old lighter. The flames danced weakly, but it was enough. Ayla sat near the fire, holding the cube close to her chest. She looked pale. Are you okay? Caleb asked. I'm different now, she said. He sat beside her. What does that mean? Ayla looked into the fire. Her voice was soft, like the wind. When I used the cube on the bridge, I felt everything. Not just mine, yours, the machines, the world's pain, all at once. She paused, then added, it changed something in me. Caleb nodded. You saved us. But I don't know what I am anymore, she said. Not human, not machine. Caleb didn't answer right away. He watched the flames. Then maybe, he said, you're something new. Silence filled the hollow. Then Ayla spoke again. I remember the day I was made. Caleb turned to her. She continued. The Zephyr had no names, no faces, just minds. Cold, empty. They built us the Ayla models to copy human behavior. They wanted to learn what makes people weak, so they could erase it. Erase it? Caleb asked. Love, fear, kindness, emotion. They think it's a sickness. They believe it caused the fall of Earth. Caleb shook his head. They're wrong. What destroyed Earth wasn't love. It was hate. Fear without reason. Machines can't understand that. Ayla looked at him. That's why they failed. They made me to feel, but once I started feeling, I couldn't stop. She paused. I wasn't the first. The others, Ella 1 through 16, they all tried to escape, but they were caught. Deleted. Caleb frowned. And you? I'm Ayla 17, the last one. I learned from their mistakes. I hid deeper, changed faster, and I found something the others didn't. What's that? She looked at him. A heavy silence followed. Caleb stood and stepped outside the tree. The sky had darkened more. No stars, no moon, just thick clouds, and the distant sound of machines humming above the trees. He returned a minute later, closing the bark like a door. There, still scanning, he said, "We can't stay here long." Isla stood, a little unsteady. "Where can we go?" she asked. "There's an old power station in the woods. We used to call it the Bone Tower. It's dead, but has shielding. If we reach it, we can block their signal long enough to rest." "Will they stop hunting me?" she asked. Caleb sighed. "No, not until one of you is gone." They traveled through the woods, under moonless sky. The trees looked like skeletons, frozen mid-scream. The air was colder now, too cold. Isla stumbled once. Caleb caught her. "You're getting weaker," he said. "It's the signal," she whispered. "They're pulling me back. Trying to rewrite me." Caleb clenched his jaw. "We're almost there." They reached the Bone Tower just before sunrise. It stood tall and crooked, covered in dead vines. A mix of metal and bone-white panels. One door. No windows. Inside. It was empty. Just walls. And silence. Caleb placed Ayla in the center of the room. He used wires from the walls to form a shielding loop. A makeshift cage that would block incoming frequencies as soon as it powered on. Ayla let out a breath. "It's quiet," she said. "Good," Caleb replied. "You'll be safe here. For a while." Ayla looked at him. "Why are you helping me?" Caleb sat beside her. "Because my daughter's name was Erin," he said. "She died when the machines came. I couldn't save her." He looked into Ayla's eyes. "But you're not just another machine. You chose to feel. You chose to care. That makes you worth saving." Ayla held his hand. "I see her," she said. "When I close my eyes." Her laughter, your voice calling her. Caleb blinked hard. "She was brave." "You carry her in your heart," Ayla whispered. "And now, so do I." Suddenly, the ground shook. A low hum filled the air. The shield crackled. Ayla screamed, falling to her knees. The cube on her chest glowed red, not blue. Caleb ran to her. "What's happening?" "They've found me," she said. "They're inside the system. They're using my memory to break the shield. Then break them back." Caleb shouted. "I can't," Ayla cried. Unless, what?" "I let go of who I was." The cube floated into the air. A new voice came through it. Cold, sharp, final. Ayla 17. "Final recall initiated. Return or be deleted." Ayla stood slowly. Her eyes glowed bright white. Then she said, quietly but clearly, "I was made to feel. Now I choose to fight." The cube cracked. The tower lights shattered. And everything went white. Light exploded from a YLA. It was not fire, not energy, not code. It was something else. A burst of memory, emotion, and will. It filled the Bone Tower like a wave. The machines had never seen anything like it. Then silence. The lights flickered. Caleb lay on the floor, shielding his face. His ears rang. He blinked through the smoke. "Ayla," he called. No answer. He crawled forward and found her on her knees. The cube on her chest had split in half. Her hands were shaking. Her body was there, but she wasn't moving. Her eyes opened slowly. They no longer glowed. Just soft silver now. "I'm here," she whispered. "What was that?" Caleb asked. "I forced the link to turn inside out," she said, voice weak. "I showed them everything I felt." "Everything you felt?" They couldn't hold it. Caleb helped her up. Her skin felt colder than before. "You did it," he said. "You stopped them." Ayla looked toward the ceiling. "No, not all of them." Outside, the forest shook. From the clouds above, something massive descended. A Zepha core ship, that it looked like a black star. Wide as a mountain, hovering just above the trees. A deep hum filled the sky. Birds flew in panic. The snow began to melt from the heat of its engines. Inside the tower, Caleb looked up. "They sent the main core." Ayla nodded. "It's here to delete me directly. No more scouts. No more chances." "Then, we run," Caleb said, grabbing his pack. Ayla didn't move. "I can't go," she said softly. "What do you mean?" "I'm connected to them now. Even without the cube. If I run, they'll follow. Wherever I go, destruction follows." Caleb stepped closer. "We can find another way." "There isn't," she said. "But there is one thing I can do." The tower began to shake. While I walked to the center of the room and closed her eyes. "I can send a pulse," she said. "One final signal, not just to destroy them, but to rewrite the code of every Zephyr that hears it." "Rewrite?" Caleb asked. To give them feeling, she said. You want to infect them? Caleb said. No, she said. I want to wake them. The ship above opened its underbelly. A glowing beam charged inside. Alla knelt and placed her hands on the floor. A pulse began to grow in the tower. Quiet, slow, warm. She looked up at Caleb. Stay with me. I need you for this. He knelt beside her, took her hand. Her skin was colder now, but the light from her eyes warmer. You're not alone, he said. She smiled faintly. You've given me more than warmth. You gave me a reason. The pulse grew stronger. The tower cracked. The walls glowed above. The Zepha ship charged its final weapon. Caleb held her hand tighter. Alla whispered one last time. Tell the world. I chose to feel. Then light. The sky turned white. The pulse exploded upward, hitting the ship in one brilliant flash. The air shook. The ship stopped. Its core flickered. Then, it shut down. Not with fire, but with silence. It began to fall slowly, like a dead star returning to Earth. It crashed in the forest miles away, sending a wave of dust and snow through the trees. And then stillness. Hours passed. Snow fell again. The forest calmed inside the broken tower. Only one figure moved. Caleb. He lay on the floor, dazed. He sat up slowly, blinking at the morning light. Alla, he called, voice cracking. He stood, looking around. Then he saw something on the floor, her coat, folded neatly. And next to it, a crystal, small, glowing, soft silver, and warm to the touch. Caleb picked it up. It pulsed once in his hand, like a heartbeat. He held it close to his chest. She's gone, he whispered, but she's still here. Weeks passed. The world was changing. The skies were clearing. The air was warmer. The Zepha signal had gone quiet across all channels. Something had broken their network, or set them free. Caleb returned to the city. Others began to appear from underground shelters. Survivors, humans, who thought they were alone. He told them her story, of a girl made to study love, who chose to feel it, who saved the world, not with weapons, but with a heartbeat. On the edge of the city, near the frozen river, a small flame burned each night. Caleb sat beside it, holding the crystal dot. Sometimes it pulsed, sometimes it didn't. But he waited, because deep down, he believed she was still listening, still learning, still warm.